What is up, everybody? Back with another little ranking video here, and it's going to be the Megadeth drummers ranked from my least favorite to my favorite. I'm in a pretty big Megadeth mood right now. I mean, I am a lot of the time because they're my favorite band, but especially since Marty Friedman got back with them, did a couple of songs at Budokan a couple days back now, but meant to do this one a little while ago. I just never got around to it. I did rank the Megadeth guitar players if you want to check that out as well, but for this, the stipulation is the guy has to have been on a studio album and played live with them. So Vinny C, the system has failed. He was a studio session guy for that. He's a great drummer, but he never played live with the band. I just called him Vinny C because don't want to butcher the pronunciation of his last name, but he is great, but not qualified for the list. But, you know, just going to run through him from number 7, my least favorite, up to number 1, my favorite Megadeth drummer. Now, for this, the number 1 is locked in for sure, and the number 7 is locked in for sure. Most of these other guys maybe could switch a spot or two depending on the day, but number 7 for sure is Chuck Behler from So Far So Good So What, the only album he was on. He was their drummer in the late 80s. You know, nothing drumming-wise really stands out to me all that much on this album. I mean, Hook and Mouth is pretty cool. 502 is pretty cool with the drumming specifically, but, you know, a lot of it is just kind of bland, boring, doesn't stick out. Nothing flashy really from him. I think the majority of people are going to have him towards the bottom or at the very bottom. You know, no super disrespect to him, just that's how it's got to be. Chuck Behler at number 7. And now the way I'm doing this list, it's kind of a blend of like what they contributed to Megadeth along with their overall talent. It's kind of hard exactly to say what, but this is what I'm feeling. Number 6, I got to go with Chris Adler. You know, he is a great drummer, but he was only on the one Megadeth album, Dystopia, in 2016, which I got this signed. I went to a signing before I saw him in Atlanta in 2016. They were all super cool. Got it signed by everybody in the band, so really happy to have this. And Chris just destroys on this album. Very, very heavy, fast drumming, brutal stuff at times. You know, of course, he is most known as being the Lamb of God drummer. They're a pretty heavy band. But, yeah, he's great. He was only in the band for a couple of years, maybe like a year. Like, I don't even know how long exactly, but 2015, 2016, around that time, did the album, and then he ended up leaving, and he recommended Dirk Verbeuren. But I also caught a wristband, sweatband from Chris, which was pretty cool at the concert, and he was awesome live. But my number 5, I'm going to go with Dirk. And I had the Sick of Dying and the Dead sitting around somewhere right here trying to show a little something for each guy. But he's been their drummer since 2016, so it's been like 6-7 years now he's been in the band. This is the first studio album, though, that he played on. Just came out last year. Really good, very fast, technical, awesome drumming on this. He's got an extreme metal background, so maybe like brings a little bit of extra intensity and stuff to the drumming, a little bit of extra oomph. And, you know, of course, he's best known as being in Soilwork, and he's in a ton of other bands he's been in. Some symphonic black metal band I was looking at that he was in, death metal with Soilwork, and a lot of other stuff. So pretty diverse drummer. Dave Mustaine described him as being like a blend of Nick Menza and Gar Samuelson. So he's really talented, could move up depending on what else he contributes to Megadeth in the future, how much longer he's in the band, but he is awesome at number 5. Now, here's where it gets tough for me. I'll explain as I go, but I'm going to go with, for my personal ranking here, I'm putting Gar Samuelson at number 4. Great drummer. He was on their first 2 albums. You know, he's got the jazz fusion background, so some really cool, intricate drumming and interesting beats. And, you know, of course, he freaking is fast as shit with his drumming. Peace Sells is one of my top 5 metal albums ever. I love it. But, you know, this is where he's got to fall for me, and nothing against him. This is still decently high. I know he's probably 1 or 2 for a lot of people, and that's cool. But, so yeah, he's my number 4. Now, my number 3, I'm going to put Shawn Drover, and the reasoning for that is that, first off, you know, he was Megadeth's longest tenured drummer. I'll just say that. It's pretty interesting. I don't know how many people know that, but from 2004 to 2014, he was about 10 years, just a little bit longer than Nick Menza. So he was the guy who was in the band the longest as a drummer. I love these 2 albums a lot. They are both in my top 5 Megadeth albums. The drumming, super solid on these, you know, great double bass kick. I've always just been a big fan of his drumming. I love Eidolon as well, a band he was in with Glenn Drover before they were in Megadeth. He has the band Active Defiance, which their first album was actually really good. But he was on 4 Megadeth studio albums. He was on that One Night Live in Buenos Aires, the live album from Argentina, which is really good. But I've always been a big fan. I interviewed him. He was super cool. And yeah, these are in my top 5 Megadeth albums. So they hold a special place in my heart. And whenever I got into Megadeth, as I said, they're my favorite band. This was probably about 2005, 6, somewhere in that area, and he was the drummer at that time, so I got into him. He's the drummer, and he's the guy that I knew as their drummer from when I first got into him for, you know, about the next, like, 8 or 9 years before he quit, which I was pissed and, like, freaking sad and devastated when he left. I was like, dude, what the shit? Him and Chris Broderick both quit, like, one day, and then, like, the next day they both quit and then formed the other band. But, yeah, Shawn, awesome drummer, big fan. He's my number 3. Now, my number 2 could be surprising to some people, but this guy is a machine on the drums. He's drummed with a lot of people. We got Jimmy DeGrasso. The way that I think he got into the band, he was on the MD45 album in 1996, which was a side project that Dave Mustaine did. Some metal mixed with punk with, I think, the singer from a band called Fear, if I'm remembering right. And I think that Megadeth covered the song Foreign Policy was the one by them. Yeah, Foreign Policy, which was actually on Dystopia. Their singer from that band Fear was in MD45 with Mustaine. Jimmy DeGrasso was on that in 1996, and then Menza out of the band a couple years later, and then Jimmy DeGrasso comes in, joins in like sometime in 98. He's with the band through 2002, so he did Risk. This isn't his fault or anything. The drumming is perfectly fine and solid on this. Some good moments. Capital Punishment also. This is a compilation that had 2 new songs at the time. Kill the King, which is super heavy. Amazing drumming on it. Very fast. Good, steady, double bass kick. Awesome song, and his drumming's fantastic on it. Dread and the Fugitive Mind, super complex song with the drumming and a lot of intricate, really cool stuff there. And the live album, Rude Awakening, which that is what kind of puts him at the top for me, because if you listen to that, his drumming is just absolutely on fire. He is killing it on that album. The drum solo on the extended version of She-Wolf, the whole thing is really cool. Like the guitar solo that's extended, and then he does the drum solo, which if you ask me, like, what's my favorite drum solo, you know, that's one that comes to mind because it is just absolutely insane. There's a really cool video of it on YouTube you can check out. Just type in Jimmy DeGrasso drum solo with Megadeth, and that's like the first one that comes up. He just absolutely destroys. And of course, he was on The World Needs a Hero in 2001, which there is some really good drumming on this, actually. Some kind of dark songs. Recipe for Hate, Warhorse, Burning Bridges, 1,000 Times Goodbye. A lot of fast double bass kick, really heavy, good drum tone. That just sounds amazing. Really love the drumming on the title track here as well. But yeah, I've always thought he's really good. He's been in a shitload of bands. Looking at some of these, as I mentioned, MD45, Megadeth, obviously. He's drummed with Alice Cooper, Rat, Suicidal Tendencies, Y&T, Dokken. So, you know, when somebody needs a drummer, get Jimmy. He's a freaking beast, and he's played with a lot of people, and that pretty much shows there that he is awesome. People want him to be their drummer. I think he's awesome with what he did in Megadeth. The Woodstock 99 performance was really cool. And as I said, that live album, Rude Awakening, is just fantastic, especially the drumming. Just absolutely kills it. And my number 1, to nobody's surprise, I think he's number 1 for a lot of people. That is Nick Menza. Rust in Peace, my favorite album of all time. The drumming on it is just amazing, very complex. A lot of awesome drum beats and drum fills, and everything is awesome. Holy Wars, the drumming on that is insane. The Rust in Peace Polaris title track, the drum intro there is awesome. Skin on My Teeth, another really cool drum intro he does on Countdown. Hangar 18, I'm skipping around here, but Hangar 18, I got the single sitting here. I love the drumming on this one. And Nick, I think, was kind of into aliens and all that. I don't know how much he contributed to the writing of the song exactly, but he was into that stuff, I've heard. I got the Hidden Treasures EP, some really cool stuff there. He was with Megadeth up through Cryptic Writings in 1997, which I think that's a cool album as well. The Trust drum intro, it's nothing super flashy or really technical or anything, but it's kind of a really memorable drum intro, I think. That's really cool. But yeah, Nick Menza, RIP to him. I was really sad when he died back in 2016. He passed away actually on stage with the band OHM, which was like a jazz fusion band that he was doing with Chris Poland, which is just wild that he passed away on stage. So RIP to him. He was a fantastic drummer, my favorite of all time, probably, definitely my favorite Megadeth drummer. But yeah, that is my ranking for, you know, my least favorite Megadeth drummer up to my favorite. Obviously, you know, this list could be very different for some of you guys, and I'd like to see it in the comments. As I said, Megadeth's my favorite band, so I love pretty much all these guys. Love all the albums for the most part, so you know, not really a wrong answer here for me in the comments. I'm not going to be mad at any of it. So let me know. And until next time, you guys, thanks for watching.